Thank you all for all your wonderful reactions to my latest carving. I had a lot of fun doing it. Then I wanted to show you the tools that I used in the process. This is a little, well, it's kind of a gouge, triangular. It's clipped off at the end and it's very sharp on those leading edges. So I use that to plow through and make very bold lines. And also I use it for outlining the different subject matter in the scene here. Once I get the lines cut in with this, then I would pick up one of these chisels. These are just straight, sharp little chisels. Those are my two favorite sizes. I do have a smaller one that's a double-edged. It's what they call a knife sharpened chisel, but it would be smaller than that one for getting into the tight places. That is for removing a lot of the excess material in the background area and things like that, and also for shaping the different forms that come up. This one has another end to it, which is a triangular kind of a little thing, kind of similar to this one, but much tinier. Very handy for the little spots. So yeah, once I get them kind of roughed out with the background pushed back with these chisels, then I would use a scraper, and this is one of my favorites. It's a triangular little scribe type of thing, and the edges are very sharp on all three sides. So I can use that for like scraping the background down smooth and getting all the rough stuff out of there. And I have, when I'm on the background, I've got these little tiny scraper heads on either end of this tool. This one's kind of at a bias, so it is great for getting into tight little places. It's got more of a point. This one has more of a swept blade on it, so the corners are less likely to dig in as you're scraping. Very handy tool. Then I have a couple of gravers that are round in the belly of it, and they're both clipped off fairly squarely, a little bit of an angle, which results in a very sharp edge down the bottom. And these are for doing like the folds and softer lines and curvy things that you might want, where you don't want to use like a V tool. I also have another scraper here that's got a round end on this end, which is clipped off in a similar fashion, just a different size for different size trough. And then on this side, it's an actual draw scraper with a nice round head on it, and that's just wonderful for doing the soft contours. The face took so long. I mean, it's such a simple, so little ivory removed to make the face, but you have to do so little at a time and check it and make sure everything's just right, and you don't want to overdo it. I use those round bottom gravers a lot on the face. This is a handy tool. It's just a little swept knife, very sharp. It's also great for scraping down the backgrounds, but it's also good for making soft folds in fabric and things that you need a nice subtle sweep to. Very handy tool there. Now this little knife I use for the cross hatching behind the face here on this portrait. So that's all cross hatched by cutting in with this little tiny knife. Most of these tools are made out of files. Now the shadowing in the background, this is a scribe that I made recently. I've had this notion, you know, when people do this stippling work, sometimes they're tapping like that, or they're pressing in each one. At least that's how I've been doing it. When you're, you know, doing that, you don't have a lot of accuracy, or at least I don't. So I end up having to press each little dot in to the tight spots. But I thought, oh, well, what if I use a mallet or a little baton sort of thing? So, you know, I was like, and if you keep enough finger between the point and the ivory, it'll pop back out, so you can get a real good rapid kind of application going with it. And it worked out. I thought it worked out really well. I was impressed with that. So that's just a little tip in case you haven't already stumbled across that idea yourself. This is a very handy tool for me. I call it my squirrel claw. It's got a flat edge on the inside of the sweep here, and the outside of the sweep is sharpened right up to the point there. So for getting underneath things like the flagpole or anything, you can scrape this way with it, and total control. Cuts really nice, cuts really deep and fast. So that's a great tool. I use it a lot. And then pretty much the end of the tool parade here is my little scribe, and that I use for doing any kind of fletching in the feathers or any kind of small crosshatch. And if it's a long crosshatch like this, I like the blade that I showed you before because it tracks very long, very straight. This is better for doing curves. I used it to rough out like all the curved letters in the George Washington part, and it's just a great little scribe. Round is good for, like I said, going around little circles and so forth, where a triangular scribe might actually track off from where you want it to go. Now, I hope that was helpful insight in case any of you guys are starting or want to advance. But these are tools, for the most part, you can't buy. So you got to get handy with grinding them out of little jeweler's files or whatever you got. Learn how to temper. That would help. Once you get that stuff figured out, the sky's the limit. You're going to itch for some type of tool, you make it. Thank you very much, and y'all take care.